Kia ora, good morning everyone. Welcome to this meeting of Central Hawke's Bay District Council and in particular today our session of hearings, hearing from our community about our 3-year plan. We will be welcoming members of the community into the chambers all day to be sharing their thoughts. It's an important day for us. So I'm going to ask Councillor Taylor to open with karakia, please.
Whakataka hau ki te uru, whakataka hau ki te tonga. Ia mā kina ki uta, ia mā taratara ki tai. E hi aki ana te atakura, he tio, he huka, he hauhu, ti hei.
Okay, so welcome everybody. Welcome to those that already have joined us, our first submitters. Hopefully we can hit being on time. And the very first thing is we've got all in attendance and no apologies. Any conflicts of interest that people need to table? No, then can I have a mover and a seconder for standing orders, please? Councillor Taylor and Councillor Witchman. All those in favour, please say aye. Aye. Yes, carried. Now we are going to go straight into our hearings this morning, and our first submitter up is former Deputy Mayor Ian Sharp, who's going to be first. We have 5 minutes and then we've got a couple of minutes we can chat and ask questions, so please join us. Ian, welcome back.
Thank you.
Something like that.
With some trepidation, I assure you. But I can assure you also, whoever did the program got off to a very gentle start.
Oh, good. Well, thank you for your submission and thank you for joining us. And we have read your submission, so looking forward to anything that you want to add.
Well, thank you. I do ask Lee to be able to read some stuff because of my nervous disposition. I want to make sure that I stay on track, which I know. So anyway, first off, thank you very much for the opportunity to share my thoughts with you. Look, I really appreciate the combination of historical decisions, climate events, fiscal policy and the cost of living crisis have led to this table having to make some very tough choices. But I believe tough choices should also lead to very good decisions. On a positive note, this should have led you to do a thorough review of Council's expenditure to help you decide where savings may be made. But again, with all due respect, I do hope you make those decisions with a forward and big picture focus. Personally, I'd be saddened to see the maintenance of our roadside burns and public spaces lessened, as this would lead to the district looking scruffy and unloved. And just a quick reference, probably the corner of Mount Herbert Street and River Terrace may be an example of how easily that can happen. And again, just to remind you that once you reduce the level of service, it is often very difficult to restore that and reinstate it to its former glory. And I think in my written submission, I mentioned the libraries. So please just be very aware if you reduce the hours, that may be a very sensible cost saving. But if you remove the service, I would think it'd be very difficult to reinstate. So I'd just ask you to bear that in mind, please. And I suppose look good, feel good, I believe is a truism, and that's very important for our community and for how we regard ourselves. We often hear of unforeseen consequences. My opinion is there should be no such thing if the correct decisions are made. You're in a very privileged position actually to gather all and consider all the relevant information and to make the best decisions for our district. Picking low-hanging fruit does not always provide the best result. Always ask yourselves, is this our core business? And I wish you good luck in your decision making. But the major issue I have with our 3-year plan is the delaying of replacing Tarawhiwa, the swing bridge across the Tukiwhi River, which completes the loop of the walking and cycling tracks. The monies from insurance, I think from memory, about $530,000 have been sitting with Hawke's Bay Regional Council for more than 2 years, as have the plans and contract to rebuild the bridge with this council. A number of meetings with a variety of staff with Central Bay District Council have been held over this time in an attempt to accommodate the wastewater pipes to cross the river under the bridge. This has led to constant delays with progress and starting dates. This has been exceptionally frustrating for the Rotary River Pathways Trusts, of which I have to admit to being a trustee. But we've been ready to proceed for more than 2 years, as have the community. And I think I'm quite sure, I'm Deputy Mayor will know what a techno whiz I am, but I'm quite sure you've been monitoring Facebook and other things to see the huge support in the community for the bridge. And the question I'm probably asked more than what are you doing these days is when are you going to rebuild and they do say our bridge. Tauriwa was built with universal local support and community funding, and its replacement cannot be delayed any longer. Putting the date at the end of year 3 is not an option, but being supportive of the bridge being replaced right now is an excellent one. I'm sure later submitters will give you statistics and overwhelming support for the bridge from within St Hawke's Bay and from without. I just urge you as a representative council to fully support the immediate replacement of Tauriwa Bridge and the many benefits that brings back to St Hawke's Bay Tamatea. Health and well-being, both physical and mental health, tourism and other commercial spin-offs, and most importantly, a sense of community and pride in St Hawke's Bay. So I urge you, please support the immediate replacement of Tauriwa. Well, I could probably chat about my golf. I've got another 3 minutes.
I've got a couple of important questions.
Oh.
The first one being, so part of where our council got involved was that if we could double bang for the buck, as in get the bridge built and get a way to get pipes across the river, then district council could legitimately be in the business of helping the funding to make the bridge happen. So one of the things is about timing, clearly, and we've clearly heard your submission about the timing. If we were to disconnect the projects and don't worry about the pipes, just focus on getting the bridge back, do you think the trust would then also come to council and ask for additional funding?
I would. I'm not going to. I can't say that without having had a meeting with the trustees. But on a personal level, I would certainly be suggesting that, as it is a huge asset for the whole district. But I think the trust is also very aware of the position the council find themselves in at the moment. And as I said at the start, it's a combination. It's a perfect storm coming, and probably the major contributor has been previous council's decision. So yeah, but I hope that doesn't mean you're not going to go ahead with your wastewater plans.
Oh no, we've got deliberations across all sorts of things, and I don't think we disagree that the strategy around what we need to do with wastewater is important. But I suppose there's always that question about actually how do you deal with them. Okay. Any other questions for Ian?
Excellent. All right.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you, Ian. Very helpful insights.
More than welcome. Won't get it again. Through them a word next time.
Okay, right. Our next submission is from Sharon. And Sharon is on. Hi Sharon, how are you? Welcome.
Thank you.
Nice to see you. Thanks for your submission. Thanks for taking the time to come and add your voice to your submission. We've got 5 minutes to hear your additional thoughts and then submissions. So the floor is yours.
Thank you. Kia ora koutou. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak to my submission. I want to use a little aside, if you'll forgive me. When we were retiring from Nola Cafe, Doug Tate asked me what I was going to do. And I said to him, I'm going to get onto every committee and I'm going to make your life a misery. Here I am. True to my word. My name's Sharon Hales. I'm married to Doug Hales. He's 6th generation Hawke's Bay. In local terms, I'm very much a newcomer. I've only lived here for 16 years. My background is teacher, lecturer, school principal, sales and marketing manager for children's publishers. and then very latterly, the oldest barista in New Zealand. For the past 8 years, we've lived in Central Hawke's Bay and we've run a cafe called Nola. This experience helped me a great deal to understand how this community works and what the needs are for the community. Over this period, I've been, and I indeed still am, a firm supporter of the council and of the excellent work that you do. We do appreciate it, even though it doesn't feel like it sometimes, I imagine. And I really clearly understand that the 3-year plan is about need to have, and that functioning roads, water and rubbish are indisputable requirements for the community. But my purpose today is to convince you that the Waipawa Library is also an imperative, absolutely a need to have. To quote H.W. Beecher, he says, "A library is not a luxury, but one of the necessities of life." E ora ngā tahi ana. Together we thrive. It's a laudable mantra, and I salute you for it. But to thrive, the community needs places, places to be together, places to gather in like-minded groups, places to smile, places to say hello, places to grow our children. Waipawa Library fulfills all of these requirements. I know a few people are saying, oh, why do we need 2 libraries? Well, Te Hunga Wai is a knowledge and learning hub, and I respect all that it does, but it's a buzzy, busy, noisy place. On the other hand, when you walk into Waipawa Library, there's a serene, welcoming, safe atmosphere that tells you that everybody there has got time for you. C.S. Lewis says something very interesting. He says we read to know that we are not alone. Waipawa Library understands this. It is a true community hub which connects people to information, people to people, and it opens up a magical world for our children. I absolutely love my visits to the library, for all the wonderful books I borrow, but also for what I see at the library. A class of children quietly reading, completely engrossed and on task. Those of you who've taught will know that's very unusual. Children borrowing books and having fantastic quality conversations about their books with the librarians. A group of knitters working together, chatting quietly. 2 friends sitting, enjoying each other's company as they discuss what they are reading. Staff who are always friendly, helpful, giving everybody respect, and above all, taking time to advise and listen, and oftentimes share a joke. A senior sitting, the sun streaming through the window, enjoying the newspaper and enjoying the company around him. I honestly think that there is no other place in our community that is as democratic and indeed as non-judgmental as the Waipawa Library. So to conclude, I'd really like to plead passionately for no reduction to the opening hours at Waipawa Library. It's really and truly the heart and soul of our community, a place to read and to think, and browse and dream, and to be with others. The library and the staff, I believe, change lives for the better. They are important. Great libraries like Waipawa build communities, and together we thrive. So I think to finish, I'd like to misquote Pink Floyd. And I'm looking around thinking some of you will get it. Hey, council, please leave our library alone. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing those thoughts, Sharon, and talking about the community at the library. And children, you'll be pleased to know in our submissions pack, we've got a large number of submissions from quite a number of our primary school students as well, and our college students too. So they're having their democratic voice too. So
Pleased
thank
to
you
hear
for
that.
sharing. Anyone got any questions for Sharon.
Hi, Sharon. Being a retailer in Waipawa for many years, I'm just wondering whether you can tell us how the economy of, maybe Waipawa has benefited from having the library. Anything like that?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, certainly I can only speak really, well, no, probably I can speak to some of the other retailers because one of the joys, and there were many non-joys of owning the cafe, was watching people come in from the library, big piles of books, and then they'd buy coffee and they'd sit down, often with their children, and then they'd read a little bit of story to the children. And so you knew they were having like an outing in Waipawa, really. Often then they could leave their books with us so they could go next door. And I think it gives people a reason to come into the library, to come into Waipawa, really. So for us, most definitely, we also ran a book club on a last Wednesday in the month. And that was sort of part of the cafe, but also very much brought people into the area. They would come early and go and do some other shopping and then come into book club. And really, so they're probably about 15 or 16, could have been to do with the wine and the food, but they did tend to talk very much of the books that they got from the library. So, yeah, I do feel that the whole thing holds hands. It makes it a reason to come into town. Then once you're in town, you sort of go and do the other things with them.
Sharon, really appreciate you taking time today to come and share your thoughts and your words. Really appreciate that. It helps make our decision making even more robust.
Brilliant.
Thank you. Sorry.
Thanks, Ellen.
Our next submission is from Crystal. Is she coming online? Sorry. No, in person. So shall we move to Catherine? A bit sooner than you were anticipating. Good morning, welcome. Take the hot seat on this. Please do join us.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Claudia.
And thank you for popping into the hot seat a bit sooner. This is a little bit more from the days. Thank you for coming in all directions. Thank you for your submissions. We've got a few pieces. We've actually got number 2 different ones. From you, Catherine. So we've had your submissions and really interested in your thoughts. About 5 minutes, and then we can have a couple of minutes for questions.
Sure.
Yours.
Thank you, Alex, and councillors for your attention both now and previously to for reading what was submitted, and also at the excellent, thank you, also at the library itself on a very wet Saturday morning quite recently. I appreciate you've got an incredibly hard job to do, and really I'm endorsing all that Sharon said, or at least what I imagine she said before I arrived and once I was here. So you're probably not getting sick of us saying leave our library alone, but that's what we're here for, to say leave our library alone, please. It truly is the heart and soul of not only the Waipawa community. I have a number of friends in Waipukaro who actually prefer, who prefer to come to the Waipawa Library for lots of reasons. And that's great for our Waipawa retailers. If I can go off target here a little bit and comment a little more, Pip, on your question to Sharon about the Waipawa retailers appreciating the library my partner has, the passionate about vinyl store in town. He uses the library a lot. And you know, it is a non-judgmental place and very helpful place for local retailers for emailing, for scanning, you know, help with a little technology situation that, you know, most of us greyheads have trouble with occasionally. Just really, it's full of staffed by people who are incredibly helpful and available. Available is the important part for this morning, as they're available to the community and in particular to our retailers for those little jobs. You know, we don't have printing and scanning facilities ourselves, and why do we need it? Because the library has it. You know, why would we? So my comments about the library are really obvious. I mean, I was born in Waipawa, and I've been a part of this library for over 50 years. So it's heart and soul to me. And the thought of it closing or even reducing its hours is just completely abhorrent. And I realise you've got books to balance and money to find, but this is just not the place to find it. Apart from all of the residents' use of the library, what about our view that we face the State Highway 2 travelling public with? If we've got such a main facility closed, what picture does that paint of our town? It's not one I would be proud to show. And having spent, as I said, more than 50 years being proud of Waipawa, I don't want to have something that I'm apologising for if we have such a community asset with its doors closed. So really, that's it in a nutshell, is just don't close our library.
Thank you, Catherine.
Don't close our library.
And you raised some good issues in your written submission as well. Thank you. Questions for Catherine?
So if we were to go with the central option, which obviously is reducing hours, so that would be between Waipukaro and Waipawa, and there's no discussion at this stage what those would be. But a Saturday morning possible closure.
Absolutely not. What about those of us that work out of town during the week? And I only work out of town 2 days now during the week, but I've had discussions with other people who do more than that and who use Saturdays as their day to come to the library. And they're all ratepayers as well as library users. So definitely not. I did think about this. I allowed myself 5 minutes to think about the fact that you may have to reduce hours. And the only thing I can suggest is a later opening, and that may not suit. I don't know who uses the library early in the morning. That may not suit some users. So that's really, if you must open perhaps 11 till 5 or 11 till 4, that's a maybe. But really, I'd be really against that. But without a huge income, I'm still saying I'll pay more rates. My preferred is that you keep the library open and go for the top option.
That's the which one?
Catherine, I remember that day when I was pouring down at the library, and one of the suggestions were maybe reducing the hours on a Monday, because it's not as used by the community on that particular day, and making sure that was open on the Saturdays. Is that still the view?
I've thought a little more about that, Exum. It's Waipawa's really closed on a Monday, and to add the library to the closed buildings, you know, we're a bit of a ghost town on a Monday. And I guess for the residents that may be okay. But again, coming back to my point of travelling through this town, and I mean, these people that travel through, they may be potential future residents. They certainly speak to other people who may say, oh God, Waipawa was closed when I went through. I don't want to add to that really depressed looking nature of our town on a Monday. So yes, we did discuss that. I've thought a little more about that, and I'd be more inclined to suggest perhaps it open later or close earlier. The close earlier I don't like because it stops us rural people meeting people there. If we've got other things to do, Sharon mentioned our book club. We actually use the libraries, the Waipawa Library's back room space now that Nola's is not the cafe in the main street. And I know of more than one person who goes to the library before that meeting in town. So therefore, if it was closed earlier than 5, that just wouldn't work. So, and I know there are parents, rural parents, whose children meet them there if they've got other activities. I mean, it's a very safe place for our whole community, but particularly rural parents who've got people, you know, children that are doing other things that they might have a mismatch of times or, so it's a hard choice.
Just want to thank you, you and your peers of that day that came through really strong about the hours and the closure of the library. It was quite, came through quite strong. So thank you for rallying them all up.
Okay. Catherine, thank you so much for obviously engaging with us multiple times. Thank you for taking the time today to come speak to us. And I think we've got Crystal here from the Cancer Society.
Thank you, Mayor Alex. I have some slides I submitted to Bridget.
Yes, welcome. And yes, I think Annalie has got them. Go. So welcome, Crystal, and appreciate you taking the time to come and speak with us and for preparing and giving us your slides as well.
That's so good. Happy to be here.
So we've got about 5 minutes and then a few minutes for questions in the chat afterwards. So the floor is yours.
Perfect, thank you. So kia ora koutou e tenera, ko tēnei takumiki ki ngā tangata whenua o te rohe nei. No Malaysia o ki te puna, e noho o ki ana o ki Hiritonga, e mahi ana o ki te kahui ma te pukupuku o te matou a Maui, ko toitu te whenua, health promoter tō mahi, ko Crystal tōku ingoa no reira tēnā koutou katoa. So good morning, everyone. My name is Crystal and I represent the Cancer Society. So firstly, I'd like to thank the council for including the infrastructure strategy in the 3-year plan. And my submission today is focused on reminding you of the pivotal role you can play as community leaders in reducing cancer rates in Hawke's Bay. So the council's contribution can be significant in this regard by encouraging sun protection, enforcing smoke-free and vape-free areas, and improving access to safe drinking water in outdoor spaces. And as you may be aware, ongoing playground mapping research by Dr. Bronwyn McNeil indicates that only 1 in 7 playgrounds have direct shade covering play area. Even in that one playground, only half of the play area has direct shade covering. Additionally, 2 of the 7 playgrounds have excellent shade at the sitting and picnic tables. Moreover, we know that 1 in 7 playgrounds has drinking fountains, which means only 1 drinking fountain for over 15,000 Central Hawke's Bay residents, in comparison to the national average for the top 9 councils in New Zealand. Is 1 drinking fountain per 3,000 residents. So providing shade is a crucial infrastructure in outdoor spaces such as playgrounds because sunburn before the age of 10 more than doubles the risk of skin cancer later in life. And New Zealand has one of the highest skin cancer rates globally, the highest skin cancer death rates globally, with Hawke's Bay having the highest skin cancer death rates compared to other regions in New Zealand. Aside from health improvement, shade provision offers protection to the council's outdoor assets as well. So moving on to the provision of safe drinking water, we understand the challenges of unhealthy food environments, historical factors, and the prominent marketing of sugary bottled drinks, which have contributed to obesity and overweight rates in 1 in 3 children and 2 in 3 adults in New Zealand. And carrying more weight than recommended increases cancer risk, including bowel cancer, which is one of the most common types of cancer in Hawke's Bay. That said, drinking fountain is another essential infrastructure that should be available outdoors, allowing parks and playground users to choose water as their main hydration option. So we believe this can be improved and view it as an important step to promote healthier and more resilient communities, alongside improving sustainable practices such as reducing plastic littering and landfills. I would also like to remind the Council of its obligation to the Smoke-Free Environments and Regulated Products Act. So the 3-year plan represents a unique opportunity for the council to ensure that the council's parks and playgrounds are a safe environment for all users from secondhand smoking and vaping. And we wholeheartedly support the council's current smoke-free and vape-free policy, which is educational rather than punitive. And we encourage the council to consider stronger enforcement around the policy, particularly at outdoor facilities such as playgrounds. So signage can be included as part of the infrastructure strategy, as well as a map of smoke-free and vape-free places in Central Hawke's Bay, and frequently asked questions about the policy. So in conclusion, we strongly recommend that the council develops and implements a sun protection policy, which includes shade provision in outdoor spaces. Secondly, to increase drinking fountain provision at parks and playgrounds with an equity lens. Thirdly, to update outdoor smoke-free and vape-free signage and make it visible at playgrounds. And lastly, we recommend that the council communicates with the public through the council's website and social media regarding the signage update and the existing smoke-free and vape-free policy. So we understand that the council has the power to make a real difference in reducing cancer rates in our community, and we appreciate your continued commitment to promoting healthier and happier communities. So thank you for your time, and I'm here to answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Crystal. Really appreciate you presenting all of that information to us and for your submission. That's fantastic. In your position with the Cancer Society, are you aware of where there might be funding channels outside of councils that would help us in this? So you've talked about more enforcement, which means more people to be policing it, more shade, more signs, more comms. So all of those things are really great actions, and how we, how do we fund for those to happen? Some of them, So have you got any ideas of other funding channels that maybe we could work together on finding funding to do those works?
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you for your questions. I wonder if community grants is something that is available in the community, as well as lottery grants as well from a few different providers in Hawke's Bay and in New Zealand. And I wonder if the council has a cyclone recovery rate, whereby instead of replace the trees that are lost in cyclone damaged areas, we could use that to plant trees closer to where the playgrounds are at, the play areas at. I wonder if that's a possibility as well.
Okay, so have you got is there any other councils or areas where you've helped find other funding avenues that are not flat rates funding. Have you done that with anyone else?
Not with the councils, but with schools, yes.
With school.
Yes, so I could possibly provide you with a list of, funding groups in New Zealand that may be able to help you with that.
Okay. Right, and additional to that is you put up the smoke-free, vape-free legislation, which requires some enforcement, and currently how that would work was that ratepayers would have to pay for the people to be there for the enforcement. Are you aware of any other strategies for providing the resource to do that?
So we could try chatting with the DHB, Te Whatu Ora. The health protection officers might be able to help with certain resources for signage as well.
Yeah, that's true. Anyone else?
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate the Cancer Society coming and presenting to us every 3 years at this summit, and I guess where I would love to see you guys get to is actually potentially coming with a smorgasbord of tools to be able to help councils like us, because we have every desire under the sun to be able to have, everything shaded and water fountains everywhere. That's just the biggest struggle for smaller councils, is the fact that we just don't have the funding to be able to support them, and then also to implement a punitive sort of a policy. So yeah, if even as your feedback to your group, that if there was access to funding on our community's behalf that you could get that we couldn't get, and also that partnership sort of a space where you could come in and yeah, just really advise us as to what those sorts of things, because we're very aware of it. I mean, none of us want those skin cancer statistics at all. But we would need help from you guys to be able to really put some of those things into place. So yeah, it would be awesome if they could sort of start to take that kind of things. Sure.
Thank you for your
it's such important stuff, and it's stuff that we just don't think about. We zero in on the pipes and infrastructure and stuff, but a wider strategy stuff around health promotion is so important. So thank you for keeping me here and coming and reminding us. Yeah.
Thank you. Any other questions for Crystal? Really appreciate your submission, Crystal. Thank you for coming. And for sharing your knowledge. Can't help but think there's something in the space on there too, Kelly. Yeah. Yeah. That would be good too. Right, we've got a little gap, so we're just going to suspend proceedings for a short period of time until our next submitter is available. So thank you. Sorry.
Yeah.
Managerial.
Right. Hey, so welcome back to recommencing our hearings, and now we have got Charlene to join us. Come and have a seat with us, Charlene.
In the hot seat.
Yeah, the hot seat. Well, it's actually cold. It's been empty for half an hour. But thank you for coming in, and thank you for your submission. And we're really looking forward to hearing from you. We've got about 5 minutes, and then we'll have a few minutes for questions and chat. But thank you.
Right. Ngā mihi nui, kia koutou, e te wānei. Firstly, I'd like to congratulate you on all the hard work you've been doing this council. I mean, you've had unprecedented things happen, and the amount of work you must have been doing and upskilling you've had to do must be just tremendous. So I do congratulate you, and I think you've done every cent of what you're being paid. So kia ora for that.
Oh, Charlene.
I want to start with the most contentious for me issue, which I didn't put, I don't think, in my submission, and that's the issue of Maori wards. I think that what this council should do, I don't want to criticise, I just want to strenuously encourage. So what I would strenuously encourage this council to do is to perhaps drag the chain on the government's edict that be put out to a referendum as long as you can. Because I see that if you put a referendum out to a community where the minority could easily be outvoted by the majority, who are used to the status quo, might feel easily threatened by any change to that, even if it's just one extra voice at a council table. It's very easy for them to vote for what they already know rather than something new and different. And I know that other councils are actually doing that. They've actually said they're doing that. So go as slow as you can is what I'd ask. We've had a few other issues. As a friend of the library, I'd better say, because the others in the group will think, why didn't she? That I tautoko everything that Catherine and Sharon said this morning. And there'll be other people speaking to that later in the day, I see on the sheet there. So just take it as a given. The other issues that I had was tourism. Again, I don't know that I put that in, but having worked in tourism, I see absolutely no need to give any money to Hawke's Bay tourism. I mean, in this day of digital communication and easy marketing, I mean, if you want to run a spring fling, you can put it through everything from Probus, Rotary and businesswomen's around here and in the libraries and supermarkets. You can get hold of Bay Buzz and the other tourism centres, and it's really easy to market things without having to pay lots of money to organisations which often spend money on, just waste it on freebies for various people. So if you're at all thinking of giving them any money, I'd like to suggest that you don't, because as you know, trying to stick to the basics this time round. My third issue is water. It's always water. So looking at the wastewater, I would have liked the top option of doing more. The issue was live when I first came here 20 odd years ago. And at that stage, the CHP District Council of the past hadn't done anything for 10 years. They'd been given 10 years to do something about wastewater, and they hadn't done anything. The regional council had to threaten to take them to court to get them to take the first step. So that's 30 years now, and wastewater is still going into the river, which is a taonga. And I just think it's got to stop. More money does have to be thrown at that one, and soon. And it's the same with the issue of reservoirs. I mean, it's great what you're doing with the infrastructure, you know, the piping and all of that. But with the reservoirs, again, that's been on the list for ages. And I just think we need more reservoirs. We need reservoirs upgraded so that we do have more water when we need it. And that also obviates the need for any huge infrastructure projects around water. So that was my other one. I'm getting through this quite fast. The last point I was going to make today is you will be getting lots of lobbying from various community and sporting groups, I'm sure. And in this situation, I actually think that they're nice to haves. And I'm afraid I think they should be like community funding and, you know, all the things they usually do, quizzes, etc., etc. And, you know, people putting money in because we can't do everything at the moment. And I'm sure that there's more to come. It's really the few points I wanted to make.
Charlene. Anyone got a question for Charlene? I do. Made a quick comment in your submission, your written submission, Charlene, that talks about water consents being attached to properties that are unsold.
Yeah.
And it's not something that we directly deal with as this council, but I'm wondering whether you've taken up that issue with QV, which is usually the company that does valuations, because they've actually changed some of their policy around how they include water consents in their valuations. Have you ever engaged with them on that issue?
No, we are going to be engaging with the regional council about that. Yeah.
Okay,
It's a good tip.
So that's a tip rather than a question then, clearly.
Yes.
Cool. Anyone else? Thank you, Charlene. Look, always appreciate your insights and your urging around some of the priorities around water are well heard. Thank you. Thank you for taking the time today.
Thank you.
Right. Will's here. Hold on quickly. Well, we'll pull your submission forward. Come and join us. I think we're on page 108 of the agenda. I'm confused. 116. Oh, yeah, it's confusing.
Oh, okay.
Submission number 274. Just give us a second, Will. It's out of order.
All coming down.
Yeah, I got
Yeah, you did. Yes, so thank you for that.
happy to look it up. Just didn't finish my coffee. So.
Oh. Well, hey.
You're on the council agenda. 116. Hundred and 116 on the council agenda.
Oh, let's take it.
So first of all, thank you, Will, for your submission. But also thank you for the hard work you're doing as our regional councillor at the moment. And having seen you out there fighting some of the good fight alone on behalf of our community in that space. Thank you for that. And the way that you've worked with us in the last 15 months in particular in the recovery from the cyclone. So I appreciate the relationship we have with you as a regional councillor, but I know that's not necessarily what you are submitting on today, but I needed to say that before you started. So I'm happy to take a few minutes for you to share your thoughts and then we can have a chat.
Thank you, Mayor, and kia ora, everyone. Look, I'll try not to lay things to regional council, but quite hard with how much my headspace it takes up at the moment. But definitely here as a CHB ratepayer. And just wanted to echo Charlene's thoughts on, you know, how hard all you guys work. And I was in a media interview yesterday and got asked a question about disgruntled ratepayers and a clean out at next elections. And my first thought is, well, who's going to be willing to stand? Because this gets harder, right? Nothing's getting easier. So well done on that. Look, I'll take my submission as read and just quickly cover off probably 3 points. One was around the actual question and the consultation around which option, and I didn't see a lot of difference between the three. Probably if I like anything around work would be around the stormwater issue, and that's just simply spending time with the Lower Waipawa people and
kind of learning a bit of the historical things there, which is there hasn't really been stormwater rate and budget for that. So, but those guys, definitely need some work done there. One thing, and I will relate this to regional council, but same with you guys around how the central government said, gave us permission around doing just a 3-year plan versus a normal 10-year plan. And I didn't agree with that. And I understand the difficulties around 10-year plans at the moment in a post-cyclone world and so much uncertainty. But I just feel we're not being transparent enough with ratepayers around things coming up year 4 onwards, and just bringing it back to dealing with the here and now and lack of sort of a vision. What do we look like in 10 years' time? Where are we going to be? And if I look at your guys' plan in particular, some significant rate increases there, and I understand the realities you guys are facing. But, and this is not a criticism, but it's simply a lot of money to kind of just stand still at the moment, right? That's what it feels and looks like. And so I guess my fear is just in 3 years' time, we're paying a lot more rates. But is our community coping with that? Are they earning more? And when you look at what's happening out there around inflation, mortgage rates, insurance and everything, it is just getting really tough for everyone. And so I'm sure you guys are mindful of all of that and doing everything that you guys can to kind of address how do we address that, because it just doesn't feel like we're on a sustainable path, right? And just lastly, bring it back to obviously more personal level, but just with the significant rates increases, and everyone understands why they're proposed and the budget's like it is, but when it comes to your district plan, I guess I just take issue with where policy and regulation restricts our ability as businesses and members of the community to earn from that business or land. So I just struggle with reconciling wanting more rates on one hand, but then restricting our ability to earn and increase in income to match that. And it's kind of like we can't have our cake and eat it too. So just really struggling with that, obviously on a personal level, but I'm sure there's other instances out there. And so I guess going forward, just be very aware of when you're setting regulation, how that impacts our communities, when at the same time you're asking for so much more and more rates. And I'll leave it there and take any questions.
Thank you. On point for a lot of things, a lot of money to stand still. That's a really powerful point. My question would be, well, I like what you've said about how we're continuing to have the vision of what success looks like. Have you got any ideas about how we have that conversation and continue to do that while everything's so hard? Because there's an element of people who don't want to hear that, saying, you're out of touch with reality if you talk about the vision in the future and the positivity rather than the what's in front of us right now. Have you got any ideas about how we could approach that?
No, I guess you're always going to get people that think differently, and so I totally get and they just can't see past tomorrow because and that's potentially just because of how tough everything is out there. I mean, I know as a farmer, if you're in a drought and you just can't see past the next day, there's nowhere to turn. I think to get past that, we need to you need to get whether it's just your council or go wider, but get people that do want to think that longer term and come up with some options or some ideas around that vision to give those people that can't see that far out, to give them hope. But I think because that's not portrayed in this plan, all people are seeing, and I'm getting the same with regional council, they just see their rates increase. And because they're so significant and going to impact their household budgets, they actually can't see past even what's in the plan. And they're just focused on that percentage increase and that dollar value of what it's going to hit them in the pocket. And so it's trying to get past that and say, well, look, this is what we look like. And so an example might be the lower Waipawa people, and yes, your rates are going to go up, but this is what our upgraded stormwater network is going to look like. You know, with regional council around here, particularly, ever since I started 4 years ago, rates have kept going up, but people aren't seeing things like gravel, the river right here and things like that. And so they don't see their levels of service going up. And that's the predicament you guys are in too, right? You're just trying to keep the roads open, the bridges intact, the water running through the pipes. And look, I haven't thought long enough about it for your guys' situation. I just, spend a lot of time in my own situation and at home. So haven't been able to put a lot of thought into it, but I guess I'm just saying someone needs to, and I guess give our communities hope that there's more than just standing still.
You mentioned restricting ability to earn. Are you talking about the district plan? Yeah.
Could be any regulation, but that's obviously the most recent one. And so, yeah, it's like I understand some of the reasons why it's been proposed like it is, but you need to understand the consequences. And so, you know, as a ratepayer, it's difficult for me. You want more rates, but then you're also saying you can't adapt if you need to. And as we know, the world's fast changing place at the moment, and unfortunately, we do need to adapt in many ways of life just to stand still and try and get ahead.
Good, thank you. Thank you for that and your perspective. When are your hearings for your regional council?
So next Wednesday, Thursday, we've got around 800 submissions.
Yeah.
I think it's around 85 people willing to speak.
Wow.
So it's in 2 full days doesn't fit in 85 slots. So yeah, see how we go.
Thank you.
All right.
And thanks for coming in sooner too, Will. That's
Yeah.
really helpful.
Just more.
Appreciate it.
Well,
Right, so Ari's not coming in, but. Yeah. Roy. Hi, Roy. How are you?
I'm fine.
Thank you. And for your submissions, but also thank you for how you've been mustering the troops about the bridge issue to bring submissions and perspectives into our hearings. And I appreciate that you've been driving quite a bit of that energy. So appreciate that. Thank you. And thank you for your written submission that we've read. And we've got a few minutes for you to talk, and then we can have a chat and ask some questions.
Thank you for the opportunity. My submission is very simple and it's very single factor, and it's basically when do we build the swing bridge or replace it? I assume you've read my submission, but more importantly, all the comments that we raised as a part of that process to show that we actually have got community support. I've got another list here now that's been updated, and there's probably 100 odd people have submitted onto our website. Plus, I believe there's been a number of other submissions as well supporting what we're saying here. To me, and for us as trustees of the Rachel River Pathways Trust, it's about the timing and the process of getting our swing bridge rebuilt. It's in the plan in year 3. For us, that's really not acceptable. And we're asking for it to be made really high priority. We believe this can's been kicked down the road for probably 3 years, and we're a bit suspicious that if it's in year 3, it's one big kick for another 3 years, and we really aren't that happy with that. There's a number of issues, and I appreciate the issue that, you know, we've got to pay for this thing, and there's many priorities. But the first thing is we've got to decide, is it a sewage bridge or is it a biking bridge? Either way, there's a different path to getting this bridge built, okay? The trustees and the community really got no idea what's been happening, and we've kept it pretty quiet to, you know, so it doesn't stir it up to this point in time. But really that has to change. We need to come out and say this bridge is getting built. Okay. We have a meeting on the 27th between some councillors, some staff and regional council. Hopefully at that meeting, we can all get on the same page and address the issues, but more importantly, get some of the roadblocks out of the way so that we get a bridge. And my final comment is, let's set a target. Let's have a swing bridge by December 2024. That's my submission.
Thanks, Roy. Very, very clear. I asked this question of Ian earlier as well. So if we take what you said and disconnect the water infrastructure piece from the bridge infrastructure piece. So the water infrastructure piece has been meaning that we need to do the design and the, additional things and additional costs. If we were to disconnect that and say, let's not do that bit now, like you've talked about, and just so that you get the bridge back, will the trust need to, or will they come to council asking for additional funding to support just the bridge?
Possibly. Now, I don't know what the cost of building that bridge will be now. It was $565,000, which the regional council have put aside and have indicated to us that that is still available, which was one of our concerns. So thanks to Will for putting that in place. Now, because we've kicked this can down the road for 3 years, the cost of that bridge is now not 625,000, but some number greater, we would hope that because it's been delayed for agreeing to do the sewage pipe system on the thing, that difference would be met by council. Or we sit down and we make a plan as to how we are going to fund that differential between what the bridge may cost now and whatever. And we haven't got it costing as to what it is without sewage pipes at the moment. But hopefully you can build it for $565,000. But if we can't, we've then got to go back to the drawing board and find the differential.
Okay, and has the trust been interacting with the regional council as a regulator on this? Because part of what we have been facing is that the regional council, because they're reviewing all the flood levels and how the flood protection schemes work, that they won't allow consent for anything to happen in the river channels currently. Have you been talking to them about that, and have you been hearing that same message?
To be fair, the trustees have stood aside since the council decided they want to put the pipe on it. We have, by choice, have not been meddling in the process, not going behind anyone's back. So we've left that. So I'm aware that that's what they're saying. How fixed they are, I don't know. That's why that meeting on the 27th is so important, because everyone gets to see the cards that the other people are playing with. I don't want to be critical, but historically the communication between the council and us has probably left a little bit to be desired.
Okay, thank you. Other questions for Roy?
Can you just remind me when did we lose the bridge?
I think it was in February, March 22. It wasn't Gabriel, it was the flood before.
So obviously if it had been rebuilt the same if we would have lost it in Gabriel?
Not necessarily. It depends on the reason why it went the first time. And that was probably because a tree got hooked up in it.
Thank you, Roy, and thank you for the extraordinary amount of energy that you put into the trails and looking after them and feeding them and promoting them. I know you personally do a lot of that legwork, and so thank you.
Yeah. Can I make one final comment then in response to that? Ever since we started this project, the Tuki Tuki Trail is not just for locals. It's about, and we mentioned it the other night, about providing something for people to come and visit Central Hawke's Bay, but also for people who want to shift and live in Central Hawke's Bay. And we know from just talking to people that that's really important, that it's a big tick the box for people wanting to come and stay permanently in Central Hawke's Bay. It's not just for bikers. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Appreciate that and appreciate all the submissions that the trust has prompted to come to us on it. Thank you so much. We've got Kara has come. Kara, would you like to join us? So Kara is submission 227, page 95. Thank you, Kara, for coming in sooner than we planned. Just to help us get through it. Really appreciate that. Thank you for your submission. And we've got 5 minutes and then we've got a few minutes to have a chat and ask questions.
Thank you. So I am here as the chairperson of the Central Hawke's Bay Older Persons Network. But I also come here with my budget advisor hat on as well, because I think that's really important as part of everything that's happening. So in my submission, we got key points from our network that are key services that work with our older community. So that includes Aged Concern Te Whatu Ora, the council, Pakiki, any organisation. So there were two key points in our submission. Our first one was the rates increase itself. So this is kind of where my budget advisor hat really kind of kicks into it. Obviously, we know that there is a cost of living crisis at the moment. Our head organisation, FinCap, has recently put out our Voices Report 2023, which collates information from all budget services around New Zealand. And within that, it keynotes in that were basically that the cost of living increases has cancelled out any increases in wages, superannuation benefits. It shows that over the last year, there has been 6% increase in the deficit that we're seeing in people's budgets that are coming in. So this particularly hits for superannuants because they are on a significantly fixed income with small increases every year. They, like most those on a benefit, they do get the winter energy payment, but this is only for a short period throughout the year and is supposed to help with those increases with power. So those that do own a home and without a mortgage, unfortunately, they aren't applicable for the accommodation supplement that is there because they don't hit the threshold. So those that will be seeing an increase in their rates will tip their budget over. We are also noticing that the first thing to go when money is tight in a household is food. And especially for superannuants, they are the generation that are less likely to ask and accept for help. So if this is something that they're doing with their food security, it is, if we don't pick it up, it could be too late because it isn't easy to see in that. So from my calculations from the
plan that has been put forward, I worked out on average it'd be about a $50 a fortnight increase per household. As I said, this will tip a household's budget over the edge. I can bring to mind, this is specifically a client I work for with. She just has the basics. She lives by herself. She's a widow. No mortgage, just pays rates, insurance, food, her usual utilities. She has an excess in her budget of $20 a week. So that's not including anything that might happen within her house. She doesn't have any spare. She has just lost her vehicle, so she has limited access to get around Central Hawke's Bay to ask for help. So with this $50 increase, with only having $20 available, that's obviously going to put her budget in a negative. I am aware and I understand that we need to work on our district because there has been consistent underfunding throughout the years. And I feel that we need to have more awareness around the financial hardship policies, especially. As I said, not many older people will ask for help, but if there's the services around them that know that they can ask for the help for them, then I think that needs to be made fully aware. The second part to my submission was about the proposed closure to the Waipawa Library. So the Waipawa Library is a social hub for Waipawa. It's for those that can't get to access the services that we have over there, especially older people and even the young. It is where they come to get help. It is where they come to meet people, to have that social interaction that they are limited to, and find out what's happening in the community. As a rural community, we have had a lot of essential services shut down around us. And I think even though it is just a library, I think it will hit the community quite hard. There are a lot of programs that are run from the library that preserve the past, but also help those adapt to the future. I do run one of those, helping our older community learn how to use their technology. And it is externally funded. However, I feel as an alternative, could there be like a koha asked for the programs that aren't externally funded, or a slight increase to the higher-age fees on books. I know that, yes, again, it is the financial side of it, but if it's something that's going to keep our library open, I think it would be quite welcomed too. Pensioners put their coins aside and their money aside to be able to pay for this enjoyment. Yeah.
Thank you, Cara. And thank you for, you participated in our forum that we had with our providers a couple of months ago, looking into this financial affordability question. One of the questions that came up at the time was have we got any way, do you think, of putting a number around to how many of our elderly community are in that situation of owning a home, no mortgage, so no accommodation supplement, and are just trying to live off superannuation? Is it 100 people or is it 500 people? Because if we're going to look for ways that we can target support in those areas, we've kind of got to have a sense of how big that is. So you got a sense of how big.
It's hard to get a number out of work and income with privacy.
Yeah.
And from what we see, because I mean, it's not it's even as the generation ages, there's those where there was a couple and one passes away, and that couple then significantly loses an income, but their expenses don't drop very much. So it is honestly a hard number to work on. I think week on week we're seeing at least, I would say, a handful of numbers of older clients that are struggling with their expenses. Not many of them are renting anymore. It is definitely the homeowners that are the increase of numbers that we're seeing. Yeah.
You know, those new clients, people you haven't seen before.
Yeah, absolutely. So many of them are referred from external services. which I think we're lucky in Central Hawke's Bay, having the network and the communication between services that we know that we're there and we're able to help. There's not many that will come in off their own fruition. But yeah, absolutely. And then it is a time where it isn't an easy fix. It's something that we have to work with over time. Not many of them where we have an opportunity to be able to increase their income. They can't go to work, but it's working out how do we make it easier for them in the short term to live a life that is less stressful. Because not many of them also will talk to family. I've had a couple where they would rather sell their house and move than ask their children to help. And I know personally, if that was me, I would jump to help pay my mum's rates or insurance or mortgage if I could. I mean, I'll drag my brother into it also, so it's fine.
Are they aware of the rates rebate, or are they only aware of it when they come in?
Rates rebate, absolutely. That's one of the first things we'll jump on.
But are they aware of it before they come to see you?
Not normally. I think with the regular ones we get year in, year out, where we help them with their rates rebate. And if it's a new person, that's the first thing that we'll look at. But it's also not us that are looking at. I know that there's been other organisations, that's one of the first things that they'll look at is the rates rebate. Yeah.
Bacon.
Reverse mortgage, have you talked to them about reverse mortgages?
We have. We are very careful in that instance because they do need to get legal advice on that instance. Most lawyers will push against it. Recently, my colleague had tried to discuss that with a client. However, what the bank did was cut us out of the communication completely, which ended up in a legal bill of about $8,000 because they took our client off the mortgage and kept the son on it. Even though all we wanted was them to extend an interest-only period for a little bit longer so that he could afford to pay for it. So, and that was the next step down, was going for a reverse mortgage. But now what the bank have done also takes him out of being able to apply for the financial hardship policy with their rates because he no longer owns it.
Yeah. Do you think the rebate and our financial hardship policies do help those who know about them and can apply for them? Is it?
I think, yeah, the rates rebate is a little bit of relief. The hardship policy, I think because it's so new, it may be a tough sell because again, leaving the issue for those they leave behind, whether it's when they pass or when they sell. But I think it's something that needs to be heavily discussed. There needs to be more of an open conversation amongst family about financial positions, and that's something that we're trying to push for as well.
Sorry, Councillor.
Karen, not putting any pressure on, but I'm just trying to get my head around what that figure might be that people took over. Is it going to be sort of 50, 100, 500? We sort of hitting the target.
I want to sit, if we went on the high end, 800. Because there are a lot of homeowners, older homeowners that have been in a position to be able to sell and then buy mortgage free. But if we're looking at what the average Joe superannuation is, off the top of my head, my client this morning when I was looking at their one, they, with the winter energy rate, was $1,107 a fortnight. Her rates are $136 a fortnight with the rates rebate taken off it. Home insurance, $146 a fortnight, or insurance, home and contents, $146 a fortnight. Food, $250 a fortnight, which is definitely on the low end for what I'd recommend. So if we kind of start taking those out, it goes down very, very quickly.
I just, I'm big on the numbers as well, and we really need to start looking at how we can actually quantify the amount. Because you said there the MSD wouldn't give you the numbers, which kind of is, because it's not like they're giving names, but you also mentioned that MSD wouldn't be involved, so we almost need two types of numbers, really, the MSD numbers and those of how do we actually quantify those ones that MSD wouldn't be involved in. Do you think that they're in the 800 category?
I mean, as I said, I think that will definitely be in the high end. Maybe I try and push MSD a little bit more, because the other thing is, yeah, are they the ones that don't have the mortgages? Because that's where it's really hitting.
So we can get numbers around how many superannuitants we've got, but then it's finding the proportion that are in that area of own a home, no mortgage, and so hence are not getting into the support.
Yeah.
That's the bit we've got to kind of. Okay. We could talk to you all day, Karen, because it's a really important, interesting topic, but I know that we talk in other ways as well. And thank you for your advocacy, and we'll work with our elderly community, for taking the time to submit. Thank you so much. Oh, okay, right. Right, so we have got Denise from Hawke's Bay Netball. Hi, Denise. And that is page 118 or something.
Morning, everyone. Firstly, I'd like to apologise for Denise. I'm not Denise. She's actually away overseas and sends her apologies. She was looking forward to presenting on behalf of this submission and had hoped to speak to you today. So her apologies. I'm Catherine Stonehouse and I'm the operations manager. Thank you, everyone. So stepping in for Denise, please excuse me if I'm reading a bit of this because I didn't have much time to prepare. But firstly, thanks for the opportunity to present. Hawke's Bay Netball and Central Hawke's Bay community have a very important role as our work contributes directly towards achieving community wellbeing outcomes. We acknowledge that as a cyclone-affected council, your focus for the next 3 years has to be with recovery following Cyclone Gabrielle. We believe community wellbeing outcomes are an important part of being successful with those priorities. Our purpose today is to clarify our expectations and why we are asking for council to prioritise the project of a sports pavilion at Central Line Sports Turf. You'll note we're not asking for money, but your support is important to us. In 2023, Hawke's Bay Netball undertook a regional facility strategy to support netball's vision for connecting and inspiring communities through netball. The strategy recognises the wider challenges we are all facing, and it provides guidance for facility owners to ensure netball facilities reflect what is important for approximately 7,000 people living in Hawke's Bay who play and love netball. In Central Hawke's Bay, netball is growing and thriving. It is the only district where there is a predicted shortfall in the number of courts through to 2048. Netball in Central Hawke's Bay is delivered in the Central Line Sports Turf at Russell Park. Thanks to the Council and the Community Trust for this facility. In 2022, 513 netball members participated in a survey that formed the critical evidence to shape the pathway for the netball facility provision for the next decade and beyond. The good news about this survey is the Central Line Sports Park is their site location. It's great and highly accessible. The court service, the quality was rated as good. The number of courts meet the current demand. Court lighting was rated as good. However, there are challenges, and some of the challenges we face with the site is that it only has serviced portaloos and a container on site. Hawke's Bay Netball Member Community Survey confirms that this detracts from the player and supporter experience. There is increasing demand for court space, particularly a lack of warm-up space, and courts are at capacity. We assess the impact that this has on the netball experience. The survey confirmed that 67% of respondents believed the facility was not meeting their needs. A further 57% indicated that the facility could be a deterrent to participation. Some of the desired outcomes of the survey were the toilets, number, quality, and accessibility. The changing rooms, once again, the number, quality, and accessibility, there are none. Better shelter from rain and sun, warm-up space, and improved office control facilities. Members of the CHB netball community have been actively involved in the consultation for the Russell Park master planning process. The master plan identifies a much needed vision for the future and a large number of progressive projects that will achieve that vision over time. One of these projects is the provision of a sports pavilion and amenity facilities to support the Central Line sports turf. Our submission is to request that the council acts now to confirm this particular project as a priority for the immediate future. The reason we request this is because until the project is confirmed as a priority project, no one has taken the necessary next steps that are essential for a successful facility development project. There is a significant amount of pre-work to be done. The pre-work does not necessarily cost anything, but it does take time. For an example, an agreement needs to be reached as to who will own the building. This could be the Community Development Trust. This could take anything from a few weeks to a few months. There needs to be a feasibility study. Without a feasibility study, it is much harder, if not impossible, to secure external funding support from the build of the project. The Lotteries Commission will fund feasibility studies, but an application takes 6 months. The production of the feasibility study itself is likely to take at least 4 to 6 months. The co-design, the potential user groups of the facility will need to be brought together in a collaborative process to get the facility mix right, understand the development costs, and to land on an operative model. Funding. Development costs will likely need to be addressed in partnership, and this is a lengthy process. In reality, the development of a pavilion to support the sports turf is potentially at least 3 to 4 year project. Without confirmation from council for the project to sit inside your long-term planning documents, it's very difficult to get this pre-work underway or for funding applications to external providers to be successful. One of the other projects identified in the draft master plan for Russell Park is the project to expand the netball courts to increase the number of courts from 3 to 4, plus a warm-up court, so 5 courts in total. Our demand modelling confirms that increasing the number of courts will be required, and we do want this project to proceed. We're cognizant of not requesting too much from the council at this point, so the provision of the sports pavilion is the #1 priority for the Central Hawke's Bay netball community at this point, and also the wider users of the Central Line Sports Park, such as Hawke. We're here today to specifically ask you to ensure that the proposed sports pavilion, as identified in the draft master plan for Russell Park, receives council approval to proceed. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you for a well-researched proposal and submission. Just first question from me, was Hawke's Bay Netball involved with the Community Trust when they first mooted and designed the facility to put the courts onto, when it was done, do you know?
So, hi, Alex, Tina Haslett here. I'm just here also to support Catherine in the delivery of that. I'm also the chair of Hawke's Bay Netball, so just
So maybe I'll ask that question when you submit.
yeah.
Catherine, I'll get you to talk about that when you come up, Tina.
Okay, fine, thank you.
And one other question, have you had interaction with our staff around where the budgets do sit in the 3-year plan around the Russell Park Master Plan and the facilities?
No. Sorry.
That's good, thank you. That's all good. Any other questions? That's the Taylor.
Just one regarding, you said changing rooms, there are none. And this table approved as $20,000 or $25,000 for a container to be used as changing rooms.
The container is there, but I don't believe it's been used as changing rooms. So it is a facility that is there, and we keep all the gear in, and people use it for sure. And there's a little space there where perhaps they could do change, but it's not full changing.
So I know that you're not asking for money, so what funding streams are available through the National Netball body?
We apply to all the typical funding areas, so all your people like Pup Charity, the Lion Foundation, the Lotteries Commission, etc.
Yeah, Catherine, we have run quite a strong model of what we call a network of networks in Central Hawke's Bay. One of the identified networks that is missing is in the sports area. Well, it's been talked about as being a missing link. If there was such a network established in a forum for you as regional entities to be able to come and land in on a regular basis, to be able to get updates from a Central Hawke's Bay perspective, but also to ensure that you guys were doing what you needed to do on our behalf and that sort of stuff. Would that be something that Hawke's Bay Netball would be happy to be involved in?
I believe so, absolutely.
Thank you.
Catherine, thank you so much for coming down to support Denise's submission. We missed her, but thank you for that.
Okay, thanks very much, everyone.
Thank you.
Right. Next, we have got Graham. Welcome back.
Yeah, good to be back, Alex.
Please come and join us.
Yes, haven't been here for a while.
Can we get your submission? I've got your slides just coming.
See there, aren't you? Yeah, it is there. Very cool, thank you. While we're waiting, thank you very much for the opportunity to present. And if I can compliment council on an excellently crafted and presented annual plan. It's a very onerous document, isn't it? All the tables and reasons that you have to abide by, but well done.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And we appreciate you taking the time to come and spend a few minutes to speak to your submission and support us. So thank you for that. So over to you.
Okay. I hope you've all read very thoroughly, and if I asked you any questions, everyone would get 10 out of 10 on answers. Boy, oh boy, what a load that you must have. All that I wanted to do was give a big helicopter view or a short amount of time on what the key points are.
Where do we?
Who's flicking the screen on? Okay, as you will see there on that first slide, we are, of course, a charitable trust established in middle of 2016 to build an institute of sport and health, and from that facility operate a number of programs that would benefit community health and well-being, and for talented youth athletes, their sports performance. And I didn't include here the big impact chart that's in the full set, but we have, I genuinely believe, done everything that we said we would do and more. Currently, approximately 7.5% of Central Hawke's Bay citizens are involved in programs at the facility, and we want to do more. I personally see Central Hawke's Bay as a place that will use the younger brigade term rock in another 5 to 10 years. It really will. And you're already seeing sights of that. And the other characteristic about Sport Hawke's Bay, Central Hawke's Bay, excuse me, is that it has so many more remote rural districts that don't always have the facilities they need for general health programs and well-being, and for the schools as well. So what we are proposing in seeking a contribution of $25,000 annually to go towards our programs is to be able to do more for Central Hawke's Bay at the facility. And I've divided that into the sorts of programs there, what we call education outside the classroom for primary intermediate schools. We want to establish special visits for the Central Hawke's Bay Swim Club, the water polo club that operates at the facility would dearly love to get CHB kids involved in what is a great sport. And we want to help talented youth as well. And the ultimate goal is to run residential courses at the accommodation hostel that would be more intensive and an absolutely inspirational experience for those who attended. In addition, what we've called Project Hope, and I must stress that is a mobile program, if you like, coming into the region, particularly to the more remote areas, to deliver. We'll have several vans and a big covered trailer with equipment. And we want to be able to use that for the schools in those rural areas, of which there are many, a number of whom are listed in the last 2019 government schedule of schools with pools. Whether they're still being used or maintained, I do not know. And run water safety programs at those schools. And I must stress, we don't want to rock into town and take over. Everything that we will do will be in collaboration with the local organisations, just supplying support, and we'll have special programs, particularly for the elderly with mobility balance, fractures in the elderly from falls, the second most common injury after road accidents, and often they are fatal from the blood clots that fire off to the brain and the lungs. Move on. So what we're seeking is to develop more and deliver more programs to Central Hawke's Bay, bring more kids to the facilities in Hastings, and as we indicated in the submission, we'll have an active program, which is Greg Howie's responsibility here, of getting funding from local organisations, different gaming trusts to help subsidise transport. And I've stressed there that the trust today receives no funding for programs or operations from any local authority in the region or from a government agency such as Sport NZ. That's one. I realise you're under huge pressure with all the absolutely essential infrastructure projects that are there, but with respect, make the very strong point. You cannot ignore programs that deliver economic value to the people in the area and the region generally. In tough times, you have to continue to stimulate economic development. In closing, the nature of the programs well match the 4 major strategic goals of council in creating a proud districts through individual and collective achievement from our programs, strong communities, the strong support from the community that is needed to deliver the programs, prosperous district from the economic value that we've had well assessed, and connected citizens working together to make things happen. And the aquatics outreach program that we propose will fits the key points in the excellent 2022 document on the future of swimming pools. Before I get the gong, we do not want to come here and take over, as it were. We have experience and skills, and we want to utilize that in collaboration with Michelle at the Aquatic Centre, the principals of all the schools. And I think, Kelly, certainly we would be very welcome to be part of what's happening in the sport space, and might even go as far as adding general health and well-being, where we want to give the parents of the kids an opportunity to work out with the mobile equipment while we're working with the kids in the hall or the fields. Thank you.
Thank you, Graham. Your commitment to the trust and the facilities and the program and the region is exemplary. Thank you, and for continuing to challenge us all to think in that way and to look for support. We really value that, and thank you for that. Any questions for Brennan?
Yeah, welcome guys, and thank you to Graham for absolutely all the work that you've done to make this facility happen. And I was one of the lucky ones that went to see it when it was first beginning, and I actually got to go and have a tour with Brendan and the team up there, and Ellie and those ones up there the other week, and see it's grown too. So it's pretty incredible. So that's awesome. I was just wondering, my question is, what consultation and has been done around the Project Hope programs in Central Hawke's Bay? The idea of that, I know that is a program that has potentially been run somewhere else. Have you been approached by Central Hawke's Bay to run something like that? Or have you reached out to Central Hawke's Bay to see that is something, those things that are needed?
The stages of this, we see the need, and part of Project Hope was to link residential courses at the hostel with an outreach program. That's where the acronym comes from, hostel and outreach program. And certainly the outreach aquatics has been recognised from the region in the 2022 report. So the first step is, as indicated in the submission, some desk work, then communicating with the rural schools. We're linked in with Waipawa, not yet, Beck Skirman at Waipak, Takapau, Flaxmere College, and we want to do the same thing with the current programs as well as Project Hope. And as indicated in the submission, that's going to be a six-figure sum that we're confident we'll get from MSD, MBIE, gaming trusts and others to be able to deliver it. We'll use part of the funding we're seeking annually to start that program and set it up over a 3-year period.
Thank you. Councillor Moynihan.
Yes. Just one question for this new outreach program, the Hope program. When it's going to come down to CHB, like going to the rural schools. when you do that, is it an annual thing? Is it a monthly thing? What are you thinking about how to bring fitness and wellbeing for these areas?
We would want, as we do in Wairau and have done from the outset with the college, we're up there one day every 2 weeks, they're down the alternate 2 weeks, but with Project Hope and with sufficient funding behind it, I would hope it would be weekly. Have a schedule. And as it builds, we may even consider having some staff permanently based down here.
We've always got one more, sorry, and just picking up on your comment about the network, if there was a sport and recreation kind of a network set up for Central Hawke's Bay that you guys would be active participants in that, which would be fabulous. Before you did your project Hope or anything for Hawke's Bay, say that was set up early, like soon, would you be prepared to come and sense check some of those thoughts around what you would like to do in Central Hawke's Bay with that group? Because I'm just thinking.
Absolutely.
You're not set on it, that it's not set in stone.
No,
You're
no.
prepared to come. You just want to be active in Central Hawke's Bay. I get it. And do it in consultation with us, as well as potentially look at needing to be movable in some areas, because the need that you have identified may not necessarily be the need on the ground. Yeah.
No, fully recognise that. I think with any vision, a good vision in creating a new future, you don't necessarily know how you're going to get there. You make it happen, and that kind of consultation with the local community is absolutely essential, which is what we did while the institute was being built, meeting with local principals and sports groups. So we'll have the energy and certainly meet the needs, and look forward to working more here and certainly in the rural communities.
Right, well, thank you very much, Sir Graham, for coming and joining us and for your submission. Always a pleasure to have you. Thank you for your time. And we'll see you soon.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Ryan here. It's early. Ryan. You're coming up.
Yep, that's right.
Come on.
Safety in numbers.
Come on.
Yeah, it's so scary.
Yeah, they didn't know. I told them to come. They didn't realise they were going to come and sit.
Come and have a seat. All join us.
Little do they know they have to present. Yeah, Rach is sitting.
Sorry.
Morena, everybody, and thank you for having us. I'll introduce myself. I'm Ryan Hamilton. I am the CEO of Sport Hawke's Bay. I've been with Sport Hawke's Bay for 9 years. The last 3 months, I've had the pleasure of being the CEO. Mark Aston. Thank you. I'm joined by Tina, who's our Spaces and Places lead. Rach, who I'm sure you all know, is our CHB Community Development Advisor. Blanche, who's our Disability Advisor, and Kate Benny, who is our Sport Development Advisor. So I suppose that the benefit of having us all here is we are all working directly into the CHB community. The three to my right are all proud Central Hawke's Bay residents and very, very proud to promote everything Tamati and CHB. So, and I guess that shows the growing population base that CHB faces, and to have a number of our staff based down here is really beneficial for us as well. So Very quickly from Sport Hawke's Bay's perspective, I just want to really recognise the ongoing support, leadership and staff engagement we've had from council officers, in particular Denise, Kate and Christine. Really appreciate their ongoing support, and I know Rach does as well, around engaging with the community and working alongside getting projects and ideas and new opportunities up and running. So that's really, really important. I also want to acknowledge the contract for service that we hold with CHB District Council, the work that Rach leads on our behalf. Got a very exciting event this coming Friday with the CHB Sports Awards, which I'm sure Rach is looking forward to Saturday morning when it's a distant memory. But so I really do appreciate the long-standing partnership we have with the council, and that means a lot to us, and especially to our staff that are based down here. Just want to highlight, so we sent through our submission, we had 11 recommendations in there. I guess really want to highlight 3 specific recommendations that we spoke about in that one. First one being council creating an implementation plan for the CHB District Council 2022 PARS strategy. This is going to bring together regional and local sports organisations, clubs, schools to strengthen the collaboration amongst users. And Councillor Hernandez has already spoken about that network of networks piece, and we see that is a really important piece to come out of that strategy. Number 2, and this is in support of Catherine Stonehouse, Ops Manager from Hawke's Bay Netball, continue to finalise the Russell Park Master Plan. Identifying the park as the premier precinct for physical activity in Central Hawke's Bay is an important priority. And number 3, and this is where we're requesting an additional $8,000, and that's towards the completion of 2 regional strategies, one being the regional spaces and places plan, and second being the regional aquatic strategy or plan. And the importance of this, and this is what we're discussing with all councils, is to help inform and support council decisions moving forward. We acknowledge in a very tight fiscal period that we're all going to face, every dollar spent on the Play Active Rec and Sports strategy needs to have an increased return of investment. We see regional collaboration, partnership around that is really important. I'm happy to confirm Sport New Zealand have already confirmed $40,000 worth of funding towards those strategies. So that's a start. And with council support and Sport Hawke's Bay support, we really want to get those up and running with the regional spaces and places plan being the first priority out of that. I guess for us, we've got some ongoing commitments to the council, to the region to the district over the coming 12 months as well. Like everybody, we've had some funding cuts from our main contract partners, Sport New Zealand being the main place we've lost some funding. We're going to continue to support schools through our Health Active Learning initiative. So we work in 55 primary schools across the country, across the region. We are going to be losing some staff in that space, but we will commit to continuing to support all the primary schools to the same level. In an important and exciting development, we're bringing Active As to CHB. So Active As is 5 secondary schools across Hawke's Bay, 40 across the Motu are going to be receiving up to $100,000 per school per annum for the next 3 years. In CHB alone, we've got CHB College and Te Oti College. So CHB $100,000, Te Oti $80,000. So that's locked in for the next 3 years. That's all around increasing physical activity, supporting educational outcomes, and getting young people or rangatahi more active more often. So that's an exciting development. Blanche, our disability advisor, has done some amazing things. We will support Katie Owen before Blanche. Blanche's role was core funded by Sport New Zealand. As we know, funding cuts. Blanche's unfortunately role has been completely removed from Sport New Zealand's priority lists. It's still a huge priority for Sport Hawke's Bay, and as a result, Sport Hawke's Bay board will fund that role, which allows us to have a bit more flexibility around what Blanche does in the community, and really important that role continues to be supporting whānau that have a whānau member that has a disability, or those that wanting to be more active with a disability, providing opportunities for them. It's been great to work alongside Jacob, the local play advocate that's based at CHB District Council. Neighbourhood play systems are going to be a really important part of us, of our mahi moving forward, and we'll continue to support Jacob. We have tūmanawa, so $686,000 that goes out to the community every year for projects that are led by tamariki and rangatahi using their voice to develop new opportunities for them to be active. And CHB District Council have had some funding around play trailers and the like, and that continues to be really well supported by CHB-based organisations. And I guess the last one is last couple, 2023 Regional Sports Fields Review, which Tina was a part of, CHB District Council supported. That was to review all of the sports fields across the region, ensuring that there wasn't an oversupply or undersupply of those. Again, we talk about the network of networks and how can we better share information between sports codes. What can we kind of do to ensure that those sports fields are best utilised? And then lastly, we just want to continue to support CHB community to thrive. We're committed to the district, we're committed to the community. Our staff are wanting to do more for the community, alongside the community, and we want to work in partnership with you to kind of continue to support that space. So thank you. I brought the nearly 10% of the organisation, so you can ask questions. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Ryan, and thank you for your submission, and really clearly laid out with some very topical issues. So questions from the team on that?
Yeah, that sports facilities review that you did, Central Hawke's Bay has a number of facilities that are out and about. How widespread did you go into those rural areas with that? I mean, council has netball courts at Takapo and Parongaho and tennis courts and things like that around the place under its umbrella. Were they all included in that?
Yeah, and the so there's two documents that were produced, wasn't there, in 2022. One of them was the sports and active recreation facilities plan. Yeah, so yes, that took into account the inventory of facilities that was available at the time. There may be some that were missed, very small, we may have missed the odd tennis court out in, the rural areas, but we do rely on a lot of the RSOs too having their own solid inventories. So one of the things that Sport New Zealand has provided, recognise that there is a lack of data and accurate data. So one of the things that Sport New Zealand has got is what they've called the facility planning tool. Now that's a repository for every facility to be captured in the region. And we've been working alongside each council, and CHB's been really great up to the point where we have available staff to populate the data inside that tool so that it captures all the facilities. So there's work to be done, but that's part of our partnership.
Tina, would you just talk a little bit about the insights that you, maybe Sport Hawke's Bay, but also maybe netball into the community trust when they were designing how to do the turf, and the inputs to what facilities, kind of bottom lines at the time? Like how long has the issue been known about, and has it been discussed before now?
Well, when the Central Line Sports Park was developed, the idea was there would be a toilet and changing room facilities provided. I can only understand that perhaps the budget didn't allow for that at the time, but also that probably the decision about where they should be placed was not an easy one to make. And so it was agreed that the temporary facilities would be acceptable for a temporary timeframe. So that's lingered on, and the community are tired now. The netball community are tired now of the temporary facilities.
Thank you.
Can I just ask one specific question about that? I can never understand why the gym changing rooms, which are beautiful, and the toilets and all that sort of stuff can't be used? Is it because they don't want to literally walk across the drive?
I don't think it's about that they don't want to walk across the drive. I think often it's at night, and so it's not easy to find the way across the drive. I think there's been some excess, discussions about being able to access those toilets. And also that, yeah, really they are sort of disassociated from the central line sports turf. And yeah, so it's a safety thing, it's an access thing, and the fact that they are distant from the turf.
There was some key lighting that could actually join that.
It's a pathway.
Can I just ask one more question as well? I mean, obviously I'm hot on the network, because I know that it works. I see it in the community development space, and I see, especially at the moment with funding is tight, and we have to innovate, otherwise we're going to deteriorate. And the way we do that is we get good minds together on a regular basis. So to do that in the sporting space, we, in my opinion, need a network. Would you, Ryan, as a CEO, what do you see as Sport Hawke's Bay's role in that? And before I am doing a bit of a leading question, because one thing about councils in the community development space, we all get told that we have to do everything, but don't spend any more money. So I'm always very, very aware when I say, we've got a gap here. And then I say to the general manager, and then they say, oh, but how are we going to make this happen? So I guess what we're looking for often is leadership from those that are actually leaders in this space to pull together, facilitate, and do networks really, really well. If we were to establish a network as a CEO of Sport Hawke's Bay, what do you see your role in that as a network that might be established in Central Hawke's Bay?
Yeah, so very quickly, I think I would expect our organisation to be leading that. That's the role that we would play. That's the role we play across the region. So we already bring together the Sports Coalition, 6 largest sports organisations in terms of participation. The GMs, they come together. I lead that group, and we meet quarterly. We discuss regional topics. Then we have a development officer group. So the DOs of those organisations, they come together, and Kate facilitates that. We lead the Secondary School Sports Council, so again bringing together principals. So we've got experience, and we've got the mandate from Sport New Zealand to that space. I think from a CHB district, from a CHB community, we'd want to work in partnership with you, but we would hope to be I would expect our team and Kate and Rach to be leading that work alongside myself. In terms of the establishment, what are the outcomes? What are we wanting to achieve as a collective? And that's where that partnership piece needs to come in, because I think we're going to have our one, and that's around the collaboration piece, but council may have some outcomes. And we talk about, so netball as an example, being able to gain insights from that community, though that, because it's not just netball that use the facility, it's hockey, there's a whole range of users. That'd be a perfect mechanism or a perfect vehicle to be able to gather that and have a collective voice for sport in Central Hawke's Bay. I think that would be a really important piece. July 19, and I have been meaning to send you an invite for this. Sport New Zealand and High Performance Sport New Zealand are coming through to talk about pathway, the new sport pathway framework. So it's a new framework from youth, Tamariki, right through to high performing sport, and what do the regions play in those frameworks. So off the back of that could be a perfect opportunity to develop a CHB collective, sport collective, if we wanted to.
Thank you. Thank you all very much for coming along, and so Rachel, Blanche and Kaito are doing the hard work on the ground in our community. We owe it to all of you for that work, and for the leadership from Sport Hawke's Bay. Always a pleasure to work with you.
Thank you, everybody. Yes. Hopefully see you on Friday.
Friday. Sports Awards.
Yeah, sports.
Good. Thank you all. Right, we've got Simon. Guy. Kia ora, Simon. Thank you for joining us. Sorry, we're a few minutes late. Appreciate your submission. We've got it team at page 79 or 87 of the agenda. We've got 5 minutes for you, Simon. So interested to hear your thoughts, and then we'll have a few minutes for questions and a chat. So over to you.
Firstly, to explain who we are. So I'm Simon Baker. I'm a doctor. I'm a medical officer of health for the Hawke's Bay region. There's two of us. Bridget Wilson is the other one. You may know Bridget. We have a team of health protection officers who are like environmental health officers, have the same sort of basic training. We have public health nurses and health promoters who work in the areas of sort of smoking, vaping, tobacco, alcohol, etc. So thanks for the opportunity to provide feedback. We firstly look into our submission. Firstly, we acknowledge the immense work you've had to do after Cyclone Gabrielle. We commend how much you've done, particularly with the financial pressures you must be under, and still maintaining public health despite all of this. We see council very much as a leading role, as a partner with us towards ensuring public health and environment is protected. We very much see you people as a key partner in improving the health of populations, and particularly the population that you serve. We particularly urge to prioritise retention initiatives that enhance well-being, such as infrastructure and services in areas particularly of higher socioeconomic deprivation, and the activities that address major sources of health inequities, including affordable transport options and any initiatives designed and delivered in partnership with Mana Whenua. Looking to the specific points of our submission, I mean, we recognise that you've had a lot of grief from the road infrastructure that's been affected by cyclone and other events, and we very much see the repairing the damage to the roads and connected communities, particularly in regional areas, is really important, and particularly encourage public transport options. But we also very much see that if you're doing roading work, that you include cycleways and safe walking, because those encourage public health. We're a bit concerned that you're not going to there's no commitment to new footpaths and seal extensions. Footpaths are really important, encourage people to walk, even if it's just to walk to the bus and back, at least encourages some active transport and encourages the use of public transport. We're a bit concerned that if there's no seal extensions, that there'll be a lot of dust created in rural areas, and dust is, well, air quality is probably the major environmental factor that contributes to ill health and mortality in New Zealand and elsewhere. So sealing those roads, we would certainly very much encourage. Yeah, we want to congratulate you on your continued focus on upgrading your water infrastructure, as it's really critical to sort of long-term health of populations. And we also really encourage that you're prioritising stormwater, particularly in urban areas. We are concerned, though, about if you choose a lower option, that one of the libraries will close. Libraries are really important meeting places. They're warm, safe, public toilets, wireless. They're great places for people to meet on an ad hoc basis and encourage well-being. So we encourage that you continue to keep particularly that Waipawa library open, particularly as there's not particularly good transport links between other areas. And we're a bit concerned at the proposal to close the transfer stations, because if you close the transfer stations, then what are people going to do with their hazardous waste? It'll just probably end up on the side of the road or being burnt or something such like. And finally, looking at alcohol licensing fees, we're aware at the other parts of the country that ratepayers pay a much lesser proportion of applicants for licenses, and obviously administrative costs I don't think should really be covered by ratepayers. So I very much encourage you to think about looking as to what other councils have done in terms of making license applicants pay a much larger proportion of their applications. So that's really all I wanted to say about our submission. You've got it already. It's quite short. You probably have it in front of you, but I'm happy to take any questions from any of you.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate your submission, Simon, and interesting your comments about the footpaths and seal extensions. From a health perspective, we struggle to get the evidence on dust that then supports NZTA Waka Kotahi to actually help with the funding of it. So that might be something that you can't answer, but maybe something Te Whatu Ora could take on board about how they actually influence Waka Kotahi in their criteria that would support us to do that work. So that's just probably a little bit of feedback. Any other questions for Simon? Councillor Anand.
Yeah, hi. I was just wondering, one of our key strategic priorities is about waste-free CHB and reducing the waste that goes to landfill, which drives everything really. One of the things that we have been talking about with some quite passionate people in the health sector here in Central Hawke's Bay is there an opportunity to for Te Whatu Ora, and have you done it anywhere else, to actually do a health, a waste audit of your facilities, specifically in Central Hawke's Bay, so to actually help come alongside our strategy of reducing our waste. So that, like, the reason I say that is that I'm quite passionate about it, that from a council perspective, we're expected to do everything, and reduce waste and all that sort of stuff. But often there's a lot of other government departments and different ones like that often aren't doing the same to support those strategies. So just wondering, is there an appetite from Te Whatu Ora for the Hawke's Bay to be able to do that, and specifically in Central Hawke's Bay, that they could support us in our strategy?
So specifically to do what? What would you like us to do?
A waste audit of facilities and practice, so that basically it's about we've got a few initiatives coming up in Keep CHB Beautiful Week, and one of the things that the college is looking at doing something like that, and just wondered whether or not that was an initiative that you guys have ever done, and would you be open to that kind of a strategic priority and alignment in Central Hawke's Bay?
It's not something that we've done. I'm not aware of that being done elsewhere, but we'd be certainly very happy to have a look at it if you send something along to us for us to look at. Yeah.
Thank you. And I had one other question for you, Simon, and that is in what was going to be called locality plans in the health system for primary healthcare. Obviously, Central Hawke's Bay is interested in how do we have a locality plan for us. I know that it's going to be called something different, but do you see the public health functions being included at that local level of planning into the health system? Because we don't necessarily see the connections at a local level very often. So do you see that public health, like what you're doing, could be more connected to that locality planning?
This is locality planning for like general practices.
Correct.
It's not something that public health does. That would probably be something that the organisations that sort of oversee general practice do, the primary healthcare organisations. So I don't think it's something public health would be interested in. But if you were to forward something on to me, I'd be happy to forward it on to one of my colleagues. One of our medical officers is a GP, and so he may well be interested. And yeah, I'm very happy to forward that on.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. Any questions? So, thank you for taking the time to present your submission today, Simon, and your support and insights into our issues to help us with our decision making. Appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you for the time to speak. Have a good day.
Hi, online. Welcome Argyle School, who've just snuck inside here to watch. We'll get to you in a minute, okay? We've just got another submission online. Hi, Di.
Kia ora, can you hear me now?
Yes. Oh, you're a bit fuzzy trying to
Right.
come into view. You might be sitting in the, you got fuzzy onto your background?
Got rain
No,
on.
no, I haven't. Yeah, it's the blame it on the rain. I'm not quite sure why that is. Oh,
Weird.
I don't know. That's strange.
Have you got your video set to background blur?
No, I have not.
Oh, there you are.
That's all right. Let me talk. Oh, look, there I am.
Yeah. Oh. Can see it now. Di, beautiful to have you with us. Thank you for your submission. We're really interested to hear your kōrero to help us with our decision making today. So we've got 5 minutes to share some thoughts, and then we'll have time to ask some questions in a chat. So over to you.
Kia ora. Thank you. Nā mihi o te rā kaunihira a rohe o tamatia. Firstly, I'd just like to commend the Council for the excellent communication strategy for this 3-year Road to Recovery plan. I thought there's obviously a lot of background work has gone into making sure that all bases are covered. So thank you for that. But I think obviously this isn't an enviable position for small councils such as CHBDC when you're forced to make these hard decisions, especially given the sensitivity of rate rises, coupled with the rebuild of the Cyclone Gabrielle. So my kōrero really is focused more on the rebuild of the Tarewa Bridge that spans the Tukituki Awa, which connects the pathways. So just for those that don't know, the Tarewa Ngahere once stretched between Waipawa and Waipukaro with large stands of native trees, and the remaining whenua remains in Māori ownership that is still connected to Mataweka Marae, and we still have those whenua are still named after the Tarewa Ngahere. So in principle, I support the rebuild of the bridge, but given the nature of the critical infrastructure rebuild required across Tamatea after the cyclone, I support priority be given to the Three Waters and Land Transportation Project rebuild. I maintain my support for incorporating the essential water infrastructure being attached to the Tarewa Bridge, but would not support any council or regional council funding at this early stage for the rebuild of Tarewa Bridge. But just to reiterate, I do support the rebuild of the bridge, but not at this early stage of the proposed 3-year plan, as I view the critical infrastructure repairs as being more urgent than the Tarewa Bridge. So kia ora, that is basically my very short kōrero.
Okay, good. I think we've got some, is there any questions? Or Di? So I'm just going to rephrase back to you. So some of the options that we've got around the bridge is like, clearly we're hearing the urgency of which community want to see the bridge come back. And I suppose what I'm hearing from you is that if council needs to focus on the water infrastructure and not rush into that, but if they're going to go faster, that council not fund it and support it, and the community does it on their own to rebuild it, but you don't want to rush it.
Correct. I would prefer that the Three Waters and the transportation projects supersede any funding that goes towards Tarewa Bridge. So yes, I agree with what you said.
Oh, good. I just wanted to check that I'd did it correctly.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Okay, that's clear, very clear. Thank you. You've been a voice connected to that project for quite some time now, and we really appreciate and value that insight. It's very important to us.
That's no worries. You're an easy crowd to please by the sounders of it.
Well, I think because everyone's cogs are just
sure.
thinking, processing.
Absolutely. Kia ora, thank you for my 4 minutes.
Thank you.
Ka kite.
Bye-bye. Okay. We've got some very special visitors in the room, Toru from Argyle East School. Is that right? Is that who's here? Okay. We would love for all of you to come and join us, sit up at the table with us. Would you like to come and do that? Yeah, Nick's there. She'll help get you sorted.
Come on, everybody.
So kia ora to the three of you. Thank you for so much for coming to visit us, and thank you so much for your submissions and letters and pictures that came from Argyle East School. So you're sitting at the table today with, I'm Alex, I'm the mayor, and these 8 people sitting around here are the councillors that are elected to make the decisions about what we do next in our community. And you're in a very powerful position today because you're sitting here at the table with us to tell us what you think that we should do to look after our community for the future. And we're really thrilled that you're here. So please don't be scared of us. We're just like your mums and dads and your aunts and uncles. We want to hear what you have to say. And so we're ready for you to tell us about what you think and the things that you would like to share with us. Okay, introduce yourselves first, maybe, and then we'll know who you are.
So I'm Hetty. Thank you, Central Hawke's Bay District Council, for giving us time to present our opinions today. My name is Hetty Butler, and I'm a Year 5 at Argyle East School. These are my classmates, Charlie McCormick and Grace Jordan. We have discussed in our class your roles and responsibilities. Also, how you pay for the jobs you do through rates. We understand that you have a tough job working out where the money goes. However, our class in school felt strongly that the Waipawa Library should stay open. So we think that option A under the services section of the Central Draft Road to Recovery 3-year plan 2024 to 2027 should not be considered. We will summarise our reasons for keeping the Waipawa Library open. We think the Waipawa Library should stay open because it has heaps of really good books. It has different types of books with stories to keep you entertained and non-fiction books to keep you occupied. It's where lots of people learn. There are easy and hard books, books for kids and books for parents. The books are well organised and they are kept in very good condition. The library is a very calming place and it is fun and quiet so you can read your books. You can get books for free. That's important when not everyone has lots of money. Our teachers get books for our class to read every term. They are books we don't have in our small school library. We love reading. We think the Waipawa Library should stay open because it is warm, comfortable, and a safe place. We like the way that everyone can go there. Sometimes we go there after school for our parents or when our parents are working. You can hang out and do your homework. We see lots of school kids there and they look very happy. Another reason the Waipawa Library should stay open is because it has heaps of fun programs for all school-aged children like the Winter Warmers. We get an awesome book that is just suited for us when we finish the program. It is ours to keep and it inspires us to read. Our school did the program last year and we really enjoyed it. It made us read lots of books. The Waipawa Library also has an art room, toys, puzzles, and Lego. You can use the photocopier and borrow sewing machines. Our school sewed a quilt for a CHB family last year using the machines. So we think that the Waipawa Library should stay open for all the reasons we have talked and written about. We love reading and we want to continue to be able to borrow books there for free. Thank you for considering our opinions in our submission.
Well done, very Charlie. Thank you, Hetty, and thank you, Grace. That was a fantastic submission that you had clearly thought a lot about and had done a lot of preparation for. Would you be prepared if one of us were going to ask you any questions? You think you would?
Yep.
Would questions from anyone for these young leaders in our community? How often do you go to the library?
Well, I go to the library like once every 2 weeks to get a book.
Good. And do you go after school? Yeah. Do you go on the weekends? Yeah. Good. What about you, Charlie? Do you go to the library?
Well, yeah, sometimes.
Good. And what about you, Grace?
Yes, we go to the library, me and my family sometimes.
Good. And what other things are happening that are exciting at the moment at your school? Anything else you want to talk to or tell us about while you're here?
It's raining.
Back inside all day.
No, well, thank you so much for coming in, and a big thank you to your teachers and parents who have helped you come in today. And I hope that you come and make submissions to tell us about other things you feel strongly about in the future as well. Don't let this be the only time, just let this be the first time, and come back again and see us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, team.
Right, we're going to stop and have. We've got one more. Oh, here she is. Great. One more.
That's a hard act to follow.
Hi.
Councillor influence and
I want the facial
It's
expression.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Page 111.
111. Yeah.
For those new generation.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right, Diane, we've got your here with us, which had lots of brilliantly considered detail, which is fabulous. So really looking forward to hearing from you.
Probably quite naive
welcome.
detail, but anyway.
No way, no way. Welcome.
Hi, my name's Diane. I'm a Waipawa resident. Thank you for allowing me to speak today. I just wanted to speak on behalf of a lot of my neighbours and fellow residents. I respect and appreciate that an immense amount of work goes into creating the long-term plan and that the council has a job to do and tasks to complete. I understand that costs have increased, and I also get that we have a small number of residents across a wide area and the incoming funds are not enough. Regardless, the proposed rate increases are too high and must be reduced. Because what I also respect and understand very well is that people simply cannot afford that rate of increase. It doesn't matter how you wrap it up and present it, just because you have set that percentage rate or set out those options doesn't mean people can find the funds to meet your demands. You're asking for money that for many just doesn't exist. The 3 options by council result in pretty much the same overall increase at the end of the 3-year period of this LTP. When calculated on my rates using the proposed central one, it resulted in a massive increase of 54% over 3 years. This is not only beyond our means, that is way beyond economic reasoning and expectation. Nobody's income is increasing at that rate. PHB is a community of low to average income earners. Many are young families, many work in trades and service occupations. People move here to stay here for an amazing lifestyle, sense of community and cheaper cost of living. According to the 2018 census, the average income in CHB was just $29,000. In the last year, an average household income has increased by a mere 6.2%. The economy is going backwards, and in case you missed it, we are in a recession. Many people are struggling, our living standards are decreasing. We are slowly becoming the working poor. Our average income is not keeping up with costs and things are becoming more unaffordable. For some, mortgages have tripled, gas just keeps going up, and fundamentals like nutritional food are being left off the grocery list. Stress and anxiety over money are contributing to increasing mental health issues. Residents have experienced exactly the same major events, setbacks and cost increases as council. We are all up against the same factors and impacts. We are all in the same leaky boat.
The big difference is that we are not backed up. We cannot simply turn to our employers and say, hey, things are getting tight, so you must give me a 20% pay rise this year, a 15.6 rise next year, and a 10.9 the year after. However, like council, we do have choice to control our spend and cash flow. We can cut back and accept improvements just aren't possible at this time. We can focus on essentials and not create further debt for ourselves. Fundamentally, council must remember that that is not their role to increase debt, create hardship and increase burdens on our community, nor is it their role to contribute to situations that cause people to struggle to keep their homes. Council's first role is to represent the members of the community. To remember that the residents of CHB are more than just ratepayers and fiscal means. They are human inhabitants who want to live in an area and enjoy it. Nobody wants to live in an area that has been squeezed at the basic level and where their fundamental needs are ignored. Nobody wants to live in stress and anxiety just to make ends meet. You may have trimmed every edge of your cloth, but if council's choices and decisions are not meeting those first human needs, then they must reassess and move those needs to the top of the list. Therefore, I think you must go back to the drawing board and try again. Sorry. Your long-term plan and goals are overambitious and well beyond our community's fiscal means. You spent so long on the plan with good intentions, but it's time to accept the reality that you can't get blood out of a stone and something more has to give. I get that there must be trade-offs, but removing services like library hours and waste facilities are not the solution. The plan needs to be revised and further projects will need to be cut. I think the public will appreciate reduction in projects rather than having to scrape together money to make it work and meet your demands. The feedback on social media shows a majority of unhappy and angry residents with this long-term plan that should not be ignored. I assume many submissions are along the same vein. Trust in governmental institutions are at an all-time low. If council chooses to proceed with these massive increases, it will no doubt increase dissatisfaction and unhappiness with the council and in our community overall. How does council imagine the community will look up if they do proceed? Will CHB be a place with nice stormwater pipes but poor and unhappy people? Have they included in their projections whether people will even continue to live here? I'm not unrealistic. Our rates must increase to encourage to cover essential costs, but they should be more in line with inflation and be single-digit increases that don't push people into financial hardship. And saying all that, I think you're a pretty good council. I know you're trying hard to make it work. Local government seems like a really tough game to play, especially in this economy. But we need to make wise choices for our future, and if we can't afford it, we simply can't afford to do it. I had more, but I'll just leave it.
Oh, that's fantastic. Thank you. And the level of detail and thought that you put in everything that you've covered in your written submission as well, it is fantastic. So some of when we go, we need community action to kind of help it to be empowered and sometimes when council asks, we get kind of back, oh, well, we pay for a stormwater rate, so you should clean the leaves out of the grating. Why should I have to do it? So we kind of come up against that in terms of that, how do we get community action? But I actually wonder whether some of the community action is about how we use community voices and us in the dialogue with government around the expectations and the support that we need as well. Have you got any thoughts about how we can empower some of that community voice?
I think that if you're honest and open with them about the needs and also the that you have to cut costs. If you put the call out, I think they'll all go. Yeah. And people know what's going on. People know that we're struggling and everyone's struggling. Yeah. But time they can provide. Yeah. And we have a huge amount of trades in Central Hawke's Bay and a lot of really cool people, I think, who would come to help if the call was put out. People can give up a day on the weekend.
Yeah, right. Actually, do you know what? That was probably seen when Rotary put a call out the other day for people to come and help at the Arboretum. Yes. And they had a whole heap of people.
I mean, look at after the cyclone, how amazing that was. Like, what a community, what a cool community.
Yeah, that's true. Right, are there questions for Diane?
Really thorough. Good.
No, it's a really thorough submission, Diane, and and how we inject some tension into our conversations and debate about what we do next. So really, really appreciate that.
Thank you.
And they say that we get it.
I know you all get it, but sometimes.
I know.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of people don't speak up.
We appreciate it. Yeah.
But I'm good on social media. Hey, Doug.
I love your work, Diane.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well done.
Thank you,
No.
thank you, Diane. Right, so I think now we will have a short break. We've got about 20 minutes. We have got Federated Farmers and Jared Payne is coming as well. So we've got three more. Michelle, is Michelle coming?
Michelle's an apology.
She's an apology, okay. Right, so we've got three more submissions and we'll take a short break. Okay, recommencing our hearing. Back everybody and timing Jim and Rhea from Federated Farmers, please come and sit with us at the table.
That's a day now, it's raining.
I've had 100 minutes. It's a big difference.
Great to see you both here. Thank you so much for coming in and for your submission, and also just a thanks from us too from that you have done around our rural communities since the cyclone as well, and supporting our farmers and alongside many others who've been out there supporting in that recovery space too. But thank you for your support in Central Hawke's Bay for doing that. And thanks for your submission. We've got a few minutes for you guys to speak, and then we can have some questions in a chat.
Fantastic. Okay. Well, Jim actually put in a lot of effort with Cyclone Gabrielle recovery, so he definitely deserves that praise. So I have a hearing statement. I hope you have a copy. That's great because it's got some tables in there for some examples that I'm going to talk about today. The Hawke's Bay Feds thanks the council for hearing our submission today. We're a couple of familiar faces. This is Jim, he's our Hawke's Bay president, and I'm Rhea, I'm the policy analyst. We acknowledge any submissions made by our individual members of Federated Farmers. It has been a few significant years since we were last here discussing rates to the 2021 long-term plan. That particular year, we were concerned about the 8.6% increase to the general rate, which disproportionately affects farmers due to the persistence of the undifferentiated general rate. Little did we know that financial stability would get much worse for the farming sector and for the district as a whole, with runaway inflation, high interest rates, and Cyclone Gabrielle. Now, the year is 2024, and it is high time that this council introduce differentials to the general and the land transport rates to bring more proportionality to the rate spread, instead of expecting farmers to uphold public services like roads in this district. So I picked a rural example at random. I found a farm on Te Pekingā Road, and this particular farm has a $12,357 rates bill for the year ahead. And I have included the rates history and the predicted rates that came from the council's rates calculator online. 12 grand is a significant amount of money for a family business to have solvent. And it's not just a one-off, but every year. Since 2013-14 rating year, this property has provided the council with $97,094 in rates for the decade. With the coming year's rates, this family would have paid a huge total of $109,452,000. This particular farm, as all the others, have to also pay regional council rates, which will be $5,601 in the year ahead. And the total rates burden imposed on this farm for 1 year by two councils will be $17,958. So my next example, I'm going to have a look at a residential property, which was also picked at random, and this one's on Nelson Street in Waipakarau. This property has provided a total of only $234,000 in the decade from 2013-14 to 2023-24. And with this coming year's rates, that will take it up to $35,000. Let's have a look at those numbers again. We've got 35 grand for the residential property compared to 109 grand for the farm. The property has given as much cash to the council since 2013 as the land value of the Waipakarau property was in 2021. The residential property has also had the advantage of the yearly rates being pretty predictable, hovering around $2,900 mark for about 6 years, and then $3,000 for the next 4 years, and they will experience a jump to $5,000 in the year ahead. Looking at the regional council rates for this residential property, they only get charged $440, bringing their total rates to the year to $5,521 for both councils. So that's quite a significant difference between the family farm and then the residential property. So the land transport rate is something that Federated Farmers has been raising to this council for a good decade now, asking for some differentials. Farmers have an ethos that they don't mind paying their fair share of rates, but the emphasis is on fair. The current undifferentiated land transport rate does not provide fairness. So we'll look at the land transport rates for the example rural and residential properties. The farm is expected to pay $6,213 for the land transport rate alone in the coming year. The residential property, a measly $437. The farm is paying over 1,000% more in 1 year, and surely the residential property gets more use and benefit than just $437 from the local road network. Now, it may be argued that the residential property only has 2 cars and the farm has multiple stock trucks on the roads per year to account for the discrepancy in what they pay. However, I return to my favourite example that I use most years, which is the town supermarket. The New World supermarket on Russell Road will be paying only $3,028 towards the land transport rate in this year ahead. The amount of traffic, both in car movements and heavy traffic, such as delivery trucks, that this commercial property generates will be well in excess of the farm traffic, and yet the supermarket is only paying half of what the farm is. Federated Farmers urges this council to investigate and use differentials for the land transport rate to ensure that commercial, industrial, and residential properties are contributing in a more proportionate manner to the use and benefit of the road network. We also highly recommend a flat roading fee to provide more predictability to ratepayers and the council, and to reduce reliance on the fluctuating land value only rate. So we are now available for some questions.
Good, thank you. And thank you for the details in your submission. It's really awesome. Councillors, questions? So one of the things that you've got a little bit in there about land value versus capital value. One of the things when we've explored some of this around differentials in the past has been about how we sort of end up with outliers, and particularly forestry becomes an outlier where that far in the district, they use a lot of the road network. Their capital value is low because they don't have infrastructural improvements, so their land value carries all of it, and that becomes part of the tension around how do we get that mix right. So have you got some insights as to how we could deal with that?
Yes, I suggest you have a look at Wairoa District Council. So they had a rates review a couple of years ago, I think it was in 2021 or 22. And they have about 4 or 5 differentials on their general rate, and they have a similar issue where forestry is increasing in that particular district. And like you observed, like the trees, the tree crop on top of the land is not counted towards the capital value, so that they are contributing only on their land value. And the Wairoa District Council addressed that. I think Carterton has as well, by having a differential that's over 1 for forestry. I think I'm delving into the depths of my memory, and it might be like 1.5 for forestry in Wairoa. So this is a way, differentials are intended to address issues like that, where a particular land use has a different value that is a discrepancy compared to the same property being used for pastoral farming. So this is the purpose of having differentials, and you can address that discrepancy for forestry by having a +1 differential. Every year I recommend that this council has a look at the Hastings differentials. They have a good system where they have 2 areas. So they have like an urban area 1 around Hastings and Havelock North. And then they have the hinterland area 2. And then within those 2 geographical areas that they've identified, they also have land uses in there as well with differentials. So I highly recommend that this council has a look at the Hastings system as well. And I'm sure just being down the road, they'll help you out, provide you with lots of good information.
Yeah, so we have looked at the Hastings system. It's almost the population balance between the 2 zones makes it or imbalance between the 2 zones doesn't really work the same for us because of our smaller population in town and the numbers of rating units. So we have looked at some of those, and you're right that I think the Wairoa system, which fairly recently got upheld in the Supreme Court, is a really good example as well. So that's really helpful. Thank you, Councillor Annan.
I was just wondering, where have you seen that's a successful differential for the likes of a New World supermarket who needs should be, or you in your business should be transport? Is where how and where has that worked? And
okay, so I'm reaching back in my memory again, and I think in the Wairarapa there might be differentials in perhaps Masterton. Where they have, you know, again, because the supermarket, if you're rating for land transport only on land value, there's a discrepancy between, you know, if the land value for the supermarket is very low, and it's the capital value which is very high. So if you again have like a 1.5 or higher differential, for commercial properties like that, then that balances out the fact that their land value is artificially quite low compared to other land uses. I think I saw in one this year, I can't remember what district it was, perhaps in the central North Island, where they had a 3 differential for commercial properties to try and balance that out.
There's a little bit of whole philosophy around the land value, capital value measure as part of,
and then you get places
and
like,
then the differential.
then you get places like the transport companies who pay a low transport rate but pay very high road user charges. So
Yeah, you're reliant on the government actually funneling that back to you though, so.
There'll always be outliers of whatever sort. You might have a very high value, you know, urban property or a rural property, which is outside the normal parameters that are, you know, you can't account for all extremities of every type.
Okay, that's my bridge.
Thank you, Risha. Well, I'm in support of you guys. Got to do some work on it. But do you do any work on, you know, this is black and white comparing a residential property with a farm? Do you do any work on disposable income? Because, you know, dominantly that residential person will be on a wage and salary, and will be being taxed at source. The farming operation is, we've got $6,000 down there. Well, if it's a successful farming operation, I'll only be paying $4,000 after tax. There's numerous ways of reducing their taxable income, so it increases their disposable income. And then when it comes to that, farming operation has got means of income spreading as well, which a wage and salary earner hasn't. So do you do any work on that?
The ability to pay, like certainly this year, beef and lamb, we've got some numbers out there that somewhere between 60 and 90% of sheep and beef farmers will not be making a profit before drawings and before capital. And so, you know, the ability to pay is, you know, is a function of the year. But things like you said, as far as income splitting and those sorts of things, that's sort of way above what this is talking about. But certainly they're bigger questions for central government rather than, and that's where if that was coming up, we would look at some work on that possibly, but not from here.
The definition of ability to pay in legislation is changing.
Yeah. I would be wary of looking at a farm and saying that, you know, they can afford thousands of dollars. I mean, for all we know, the residential property might be a lawyer, a partner in a law firm or something. Like you just don't know. but it's about how much service or use or benefit you get from the services. One thing that we have always praised this particular district council for has been your really good use of targeted rates, which ensure that people who benefit from a service like water or sewage are the people who are paying for it. But farmers, the general rate is used for so many different activities for the council. And a lot of them, there is no justification for saying that a farmer has to pay based on their capital value many thousands more for something like the district plan review compared to someone in town, when we all benefit the same from the district plan review. Farmers are regulated by the rural zone rules, urban residents are regulated by the residential zone rules. They benefit the same amount from the district plan, so why is the farmer paying a couple of grand towards it and the person in town is only paying a couple of $100? So I think, I would be wary of saying, making a judgment on the financial situation for individual ratepayers, but it's looking at how much they use that particular service and are they getting their value for money for it. There is also we do know that the council also has rate remission policies for people who can't afford it. I imagine a lot of people drew on that last year because of the cyclone, whether they were urban, rural, commercial. The government also has that rates rebate scheme as well. There are other ways to ensure that there is help for people who can't find that affordability issue, but we just want the council to ensure that when you are charging rates, that it is a fair charge for services used or benefit received from that particular service.
Okay, good. Any other questions? Thank you. Thank you both very much for sharing your submission and the detail that goes into it. Really, we always appreciate that.
Thank you.
And thanks for making the time to come and be here to.
My pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah.
Next time.
Yes.
In 3 years.
Probably been kicked off.
I think it's Steve Bell's actually.
Right, we've now got Jared Payne. Welcome. Let's just make sure we've got permission.
What was the number?
5 and yeah.
Has everyone found we've had mixed the order of things up a bit, Jared, so we just catching up, make sure everyone's got the right ones. Right, well, welcome. Thank you. Thank you for submission. Good to see you. Thanks for joining us. And we've got a few minutes to hear from you, so then we can have a chat.
Okay, well, kia ora koutou. The gist of my submission is that no matter how hard you've tried to keep rate rises as low as possible, in my opinion, you've failed. Because the current rate charges are already unaffordable to many residents. So the proposed year-on-year increases will be the last straw for many. So as I've just said, I think you've failed, but don't take it personally. Because you and just about every other council in the country are being expected to do too much with not enough. So basically, well, in my opinion, you need to do two things. First, you need to lobby the bejesus at a local government association, even harder than you probably already have been, to get central government to provide an alternative and or parallel or complementary source of income to property rates. And secondly, you need to leave the funding of Three Waters infrastructure and maintenance to central government. You and many other councils around the country opposed what the previous government came up with. The problem of these unaffordable costs. the National Party proposed something called Water Done Better during last year's election campaign. So why don't you just leave such spending to the new government? Get them to put their money where their mouth was. So that's two things, alternative and or complementary income, and leave 3 water spending to central government. Then you'll be able to do the better job of the other services you need to provide. And if you do or can do nothing, then I submit that in some time in the near future, you're going to face some sort of rate strike. One possibility that I can see is that we get enough ratepayers to band together. You will be offered a certain amount, say the 22-23 year charges, some sort of adjustment for inflation, and that'll be it. And, but basically, yeah, I'm not the only one who's no doubt told you that those are unaffordable. But appreciate the position you're in, but yeah, that's it.
Thank you, Jared. But you clearly do understand what we're facing, and also that nobody is volunteering to pay for anything. Unfortunately, that's outside of the district.
Not suggesting they're going to volunteer, but
yeah, it's really tricky. And in terms of the advocacy to government, even where the advocacy around partnership with central government so that we can align and get investment in the right places, that the new government is calling it city and regional deals. But there's no money sits on their side of the deal. It's local government funding, but matching with their regulation and legislation. So we're up against it. Quick questions for Jared? Anything else? No, all good. Jared, the 3 waters rates charges are always going to be paid for households in some way or other in terms of rating or charges, whether it's through a council or through some other CCO entity or anything like that. And that's going to challenge our households. Even if we do change the structure of how we do it, it's still going to continue to be the challenge as well. So we're going to need to continue to have voices around how to keep it affordable. Any other questions? No? Thank you, Gerard, for coming in. Good. Right. I think that that's everyone off the list, isn't it? Okay, so just going to get everyone to turn to the paper at the beginning, which is at page 5. Page 5 of the agenda. And which is basically for us to have accepted all of the submissions, including submissions, which is in the recommendation. But I just wanted to, on the back of what we've heard today and all of the submissions that we've had, that tomorrow we have a council meeting. There is a paper about the 3-year plan. And what I'm proposing to do is that you guys, having heard and read all of your submissions, tomorrow we will have the opportunity in the council meeting at a high level about what other information you might require to make deliberation decisions that have come up from the submissions. We'll cover off the 4 key focus areas and the 3 additional topics in terms of what other information you might require or any other options that you might like to be considered in how we do deliberations, because then we will get deliberation reports for decision making to happen on the 30th, the next council meeting on the 30th of May. So you've got a chance to sleep on it tonight, go back to the rest of the questions, give a bit of feedback tomorrow as to what other things you might need, and then we will have deliberations on the 30th. Does that sound okay? Yeah, good. Anything else from you to add, Doug? Right, so this we have 3 things, 3 recommendations. Number 1 is that submissions on the 3-year plan 24 to 27 be received. Number 2, that late submissions referred to an attachment 4 will also be considered or received. Do we actually need a technical? You just received it. Okay, so can we just add to that, the late submissions referred to an attachment for these listed. Yeah, got that. And number 3, that council thanks submitters for taking the time to provide feedback to the 3-year plan process and thank them for their submissions. I just want to bring up a topic on this one was raised by Councillor Byrne earlier in the week about some of the frequently asked questions where clearly we've got a bit of a mismatch of knowledge and information, whether it's possible to include that kind of approach in the presentation that you submitted. So it'll be included. All right, can I have a mover and a seconder for the 3 mentions, please? Councillor Taylor. Would anyone like to add anything? Councillor Moynihan.
Just like to say thank you very much for all those that have run today. It's not easy. That's a big challenge, and I can definitely say we have been listening to your voices.
Taylor? Okay, all those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried, and okay, yep, so is it at the end of the thing? Yeah. Okay, recommendation for the next date of the next meeting is tomorrow, the 23rd of May, 2024. Can I have a motion second, please? Councillor Byrne and Councillor Witchman. All those in favour, please say aye. Against, carried. And time of closure is 1:34. Thank you for those that have joined us online, and a big thank you to those that have made submissions, those that have come in today to submit in person, but also the 800 and something pages of written submissions that have been carefully thought through by people that have participated in the process, and thank you for that. And that closes our meeting.